Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of Short Legs Big Rage, hosted by
Woo-hoo.
myself, Angry Corgi, and the Hooter himself, Joey Shadows. We're going to finish off PlayStation today. Well, hopefully finish off PlayStation. I've spent a lot of time today on PlayStation 3, and I'd be amazed if we get to PlayStation 4.
Oh,
But
dude, I was thinking that too with the notes that I've taken down, and I'm like, as much as I rambled about the PS1, I don't know if I could. I'm gonna try to make this one a little shorter so we can get through the PS4, PS5 area,
well,
which
it
is
doesn't
gonna be
matter.
relatively shorter, right?
It's always stuff we could revisit, but you referred to it before as PlayStation's black sheep. So
Hmm.
I was just telling Joe this. I can't personally say I know I've played it. I don't know what I played on it, but PlayStation 3 wasn't a huge thing to me. My my ultimate console was Xbox 360. So for me,
Hmm.
that's what I lived on. Xbox was more of my life. Joe always had PlayStation if I ever wanted something exclusive to play, so it didn't matter. But PlayStation 3, like I said, it's like watching a bad movie. You sent me a documentary and I've been looking into it, but I never knew, and it could be the one that was potentially the most groundbreaking and the biggest flop all at the same time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's what I found interesting. So if you don't know shit about video games, I know, a level above shit. Like I'm a shit cleaner, I guess, in the
Hmm.
dog poop world. Um but it's Go
This
ahead.
was the era. This was the era that humbled Sony, I would like to say.
And it's true.
Um, Yeah,
But
it is because they were riding high on that
yeah.
PS2, that PS2 freight train that just came smashing in, and they thought they could do no wrong. It's almost the same as the Xbox One, right? The Xbox One, I find the black sheep of the Xbox world. I'm not too familiar on the Series X and Series S and whatever else they have. I don't know how well that's doing, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's the black sheep. It's the one that should have made the biggest impact. But it definitely was it. Now it did last for almost 10 years, I think, on the market. But it humbled Sony, and I'm glad it happened. I'm sad it happened, but I'm glad it happened because it it made them rethink their strategy and rethink their impact in the market of video games. And
Well,
then when they came to the PS4, they realized, hey, that's just not try too much. What do you call it? Um, Change the game, I guess you would say, of the console market with processors and all that stuff. They just kept it simple again, and they just gave the people what they wanted. You know what I mean? So,
and we
but
talked
sorry, go
about
on.
this. We talked about this in the last episode, the part one of this one. But PlayStation 2 was the people's champ. That was what it was. We talked about Ken Kutaragi being an absolute visionary.
Mm-hmm.
He said gave that to Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
walked off, flexed it over. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is, and I suffer from the same thing. We get too close to the sun sometimes. We forget about the big
Mm-hmm.
picture, and that's what happened with the PlayStation 3. Um, the Everything hinged around a chip, and just to Joey Shadow a little bit into the future here. Um, it ended up being a $4.7 billion loss. Um,
Yes.
and it was also, it did change a lot. Um, and you had said it, and it was a game changer, but not for the reason, because not only was this a brainchild that was trying to change everything from the way you consume gaming media on a daily level, because the chip was designed to be used everywhere. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem was, Ken flew a little too close to the sun,
It,
and
it was. Oh, sorry. Go for
no,
it.
go ahead. No, no, that's it, man.
Oh yeah,
That's
no, it was a very complicated processor. I can't get into the details because myself I don't really. It's very complicated. I watched stuff on it. It was kind of hard to follow. But essentially, like it was Sony, Toshiba, and IBM that collaborated on the cell processor is what they call it. Basically, what they were trying to do is make the PS3 a supercomputer, just like the PS2 was supposed to be
The
the
media
the
center, right?
desktop kit. Yes, and like I would say the only good thing that came out of the PS3 was Blu-ray, right? Because that was a, I mean, we could either get into another time or whatever, but the HD, if we all remember the HD DVD Blu-ray war, the only thing that came out of it was Blu-ray. It demolished HD DVD, and everything is essentially Blu-ray. And Blu-ray is good because you could fit more data on the disc, right? And everything looked better on a Blu-ray disc as opposed to now. There will be people out there, maybe in the comments or maybe whatever, that will swear by HD DVD. But I mean, in the end, they killed it. Um, so the PS3 was the introduction of the cell processor, aka supercomputer. They wanted to not only revolutionize the gaming world, but they wanted to revolutionize the business tech world, right? Because their thing was, we're going to create this chip and make it work in a console, but we also want everyone to add it into PC. Like this is what we want to do. We want businesses to use it. We want this because basically what it was is it was like, so if I recall correctly, in the Xbox 360, it was like I'm gonna say three channel. That's not gonna be the right term, but it was like a three channel chip
Yeah.
where you could put memory and put store stuff on three different areas. What the cell processor was, it was like a dual chip, um, but it spread it out into like 8 ways. If
So
that
you'd
kind of makes
have
sense. So like
individual processors.
yes,
Yeah.
so you'd have I think it was eight or was it six? I
Yeah,
can't remember.
six in my head for whatever reason. It could be wrong.
Yeah, so you could take your sound and you can move it to this processor. So this processor is 100% doing the sound, which will take the load off of your main processor, right? And then you could take this, whatever the fucking water moving or whatever you wanted to do into this and make water look more better, right? The problem with doing that is because it was so new, and also uh down the line we'll probably get to it, but it was released a year after the 360. So third parties and everybody already got their dev kits for the 360. 360's been on the market for a year. Everyone was used to making it. It was just basic video game making this. It was very easy to do. And then the PlayStation comes in and it was very hard. It was easy for the first parties because they had all the intel from PlayStation on how to make this stuff better. The farther down it went from second party to third party, there was a lot of secrecy and they had to go through like lawyers and shit to see, hey, like we need help with this. Can you tell us how to do this? And sometimes Sony would be like, no, we can't. Like it's in secret. You guys just got to figure it out, right? So a lot of third party developers didn't want to make games for PlayStation because it was time consuming, just to learn the hardware, right? Like it would take a year or two just to learn how the cell processor worked. Then they could start working on the game that they wanted to make, right? But um, so that was one of the main issues. They also spent $400 million in R&D for this chip alone before it was even out on market. $400 million just went into creating this processor. Like that probably doesn't sound like a lot of money for a big corporation, but you got to recoup that cost somehow, right?
And we're
And if you
talking the early 2000s. We're not talking a couple of years ago.
right, 2005, right? Because
Ish,
it
yeah.
was released in 2006. So they in E3 of 2005, they kind of told everybody about this system, right? So trying to get developers on board was very hard, which is why you don't really hear of a lot of games really. Like a lot of games were ported onto it, but it was developed for the 360 first, and then they tried to port it onto the PlayStation 3, which really didn't work because for the longest time, games on PS3 that came out on the 360 were shit. Like they ran poorly. They games were used properly. The PS3 looked phenomenal. Right? We all remember like Uncharted. originally released on the PS3. Um, uh, what the fuck's that other game? Last of Us, Little Big Planet, Demon Souls, right? Like all these franchises started on it, but that was made by like first party developers, and that's why they looked really good, in a sense, because they already knew how to use it. And it did take a while for games to come out. Like their launch lineup, I had one. I had the OG 60 gigabyte
Yeah, you had the brick.
PS3.
Like you had
Oh,
the
dude, the fatty. I had
yeah.
the fatty, and I'm so sad I traded it in for the PS4. Like, I was an idiot back then. I know I'm a collector now, but back then I was an idiot. I had so many systems that I traded in. It was dumb on my part. But yeah, so, but when that came out, that was like, I remember my dad buying it, and with that and like an extra controller in the game, it was like $900 back in like 2006
And we're
for
putting
that.
this in to kind of give the listeners and the viewers here some kind of market comparison. So when the 360 came out the year before, you could pick it up for 300, and it
No
usually what
problem.
was one controller, two games. Because usually got like a
Yeah,
double demo with it,
with the headset. You had a headset that came with it, right? So
and that's
was
it.
it a good headset? No, but it still fucking worked, right? So yeah, they revealed it in 2005. The initial PS3 consoles were backwards. This was a selling point. It was backwards compatible with PS1 and PS2 software and hardware, right? So it could emulate through downloadable games, and you could also put your hard, like your disc, your PS1 disc inside, and it worked, right? When they initially were going to bring it out, it was going to have 6 USB ports, which is fucking crazy. What we're going to use all those for, I don't know. Two HDMI ports, three Ethernet ports, a memory a slot reader for memory sticks, a and compact flash drive. A hard drive disk, a Blu-ray disc would be utilized for the high capacity game storage. So I had all this in one. So thinking of the price, not crazy for what it was doing, because it was, again, it was basically a computer, is what it was. Plus, it also released with not only their what do you call that, operating system. They also added another operating system in there. So Linux people, like people that use Linux, which man, fucking, I don't understand Linux at all. I know it's a computer thing, don't get it. But people that knew how to use Linux can use this operating system and basically customize their PlayStation to how they want it to run. Was the original PS3 release on what they had. So
And
again,
go
not
ahead.
crazy. Right.
Well,
Oh,
and,
sorry.
and
I was
and
just
that's
saying,
it, right?
right?
Because they used it, and we talked about it in the first episodes, and we talked about it with Xbox. Is Xbox ran like a computer? You could break it down, you could code in it, and that is it's a big feature to a lot of people. Like PlayStation will always have the throne in gaming, as far as console goes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. But when we talked about Xbox 360. I'd put Xbox 360 right up there with the PlayStation 2. I think that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it, right? Because the second child is generally the smart one. No offense to my sister or to your older brother, but this is it. And if there was a third, there'd be a demon. But
Mm-hmm.
we saw this. So, Joe, I'm going to try to take you back a little bit here.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because for me, PlayStation 3 it was marketed with Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man was going to be the game
Mm-hmm.
changer, right? And we're
Mm-hmm.
talking Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man still.
Mm-hmm. The Spider-Man, the movie, the game
Because Venom was coming out,
release.
right? Spider-Man 3,
Spider-Man 3.
PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
was it. Even the PlayStation font was the same as Spider-Man. But there was a lot
Mm-hmm.
on that.
They
But because
they they said it was a mistake. They didn't realize they did that, but I think they knew what they were trying to do.
you could say whatever you want, but either way, but that was it. But the big thing was Blu-ray because now you didn't need to go buy because at the time, and I was working at Future Shop, Blu-ray players were fairly expensive. You're looking at 200 on the cheap side for a decent model, um, and that's it. You didn't need that. It was that all-in-one unit, and now you had backwards compatibility, which was huge because what was the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing? Oh, well, my friend doesn't have it yet. How am I going to play games with him? But you were able
Mm-hmm.
to do that. And that was one big thing that PlayStation brought in that it needed to happen. Now,
Mm-hmm.
back then, Joe, did you think that, PlayStation 3, that was it? That was the be all end all. It wasn't going to get any better than this. It was such a long standing and long running console that literally was just a late bloomer, right? When we go further in and we get closer to the PlayStation 4 in the timeline, PlayStation 3 is pumping them out now, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
whole, but like you said at the beginning, the UX and just the UI design for devs were so difficult with that cell that it wasn't worth it. And even in that documentary, someone had explained it. But the one thing with that cell is each one of the processor had X amount of memory
RAM,
attached
memory,
to it.
RAM, yeah.
So what would happen is where think of splitting your 512 into two 256s,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it was. But with Xbox, it was 512. So if you only used 90 on sound, the rest could be used to so that's kind of where it came out. But this is really, and like we said, as far as sales go, it was a very, like, womp womp, not a great investment.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you can probably find them $50 right now at a pawn shop, and it's probably worth more than that just in chips, because they
Yeah,
could be used as a supercomputer.
the fat ones I think are still worth a lot because again the backwards compatibility, it had
Yeah,
all the ports to it. It doesn't have that second operating system anymore because PlayStation nerfed that in a firmware. We could get into that later. Just remind me
yep,
because there's a whole thing about that. But yeah, but every other one just super cheap because as the generation went on, they started taking stuff away to try to make it cheaper. And I'm gonna paraphrase it, but at one of the E3s, I don't know if it was Mark Cerny, who I believe was the CEO at the time, or if it was Jack Tretton, who was also the CEO at one point. They ended up, I think it was Jack Tretton, because Mark Cerny's the CEO now. But Jack Tretton said when people were complaining about the price on stage, and now I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember exact quote, but what he said is basically like, well, then get a second job. If you want to buy a PlayStation 3, then get a fucking second job. It's basically like this just goes to show you like the ego that Sony had when the PS3 because they were riding the high of that PS2 and they thought they could do fucking no wrong. And I'm gonna say this again, it fucking humbled them because also I got a quote here. Ken Kutaragi, when somebody asked them if they're worried about Xbox because Xbox had already been out for a year, his exact quote was, beating us for a short moment is like accidentally winning a point from a Shihan, which is a karate master. And Microsoft is still not a black belt. This is what he said at the E3 when somebody was interviewing. Like, again, this is like the balls that they thought that they had. And it's crazy because if you think that way, like, again, you're going to make this stuff and you're going to think you're going to do no wrong. And, like, dude, that fucking quote kills me. That because when they showed that shit, dude, like I don't know if you ever pulled a picture up, um, but the original PlayStation 3, like whatever demo kit that they had. Have you ever seen the boomerang controller, the
yeah,
PS3 boomerang controller? Dude, that was what they were gonna release it with, and thank God they didn't. Thank God when it finally came out, dude, at the E3 in 2006 when they finally revealed it, the red flags started to show already, right? So they had, I believe they dropped it down from 6 USB ports to two or to 4 USB ports. So they already took away shit that they said that they were going to still have. Um, and then they also, what was it? And the games scaled back in graphics because when they originally in E3, when they showed their shit, what they were showing were already pre-rendered graphic games like back in the day they used to call them in the magazine when you looked to see how good of a game was a bullshot, right? So what they were saying is like, that's fucking fake, there's no way the game looks that good.
yeah.
So that's what PlayStation did. So when the games were starting to come out, the graphics didn't look that good, so it proved that they were pre-rendering the graphics, like they weren't in game. Also, they took away the rumble feature in the controller was supposed to have a rumble feature. They took that away because of legal battles with the haptic feedback company that they were working with. Um, but the bright side, like I mentioned, they changed the controller and made it look like a goddamn PlayStation controller. Because it like I looking back at it now, I kind of want that boomerang controller just to have because it's so ugly and like people would never believe you if you showed them a picture. They think it's like AI or fake. But like they were planning on coming out with that shit and it looked like a fucking boomerang, dude. Like it was so bad. And then what they also added was they call it six axis, the motion control, which was kind of cool, but again, it ended up being a gimmick for them. Not a lot of companies wanted to add that into their game feature because again, it was just like a fucking like other than flying games, how do you add fucking controls that do like this, right? It's really hard. So, yeah, so when they released that, the price for the 60 gig PS3 uh, was 590 before taxes. And I believe it just came with a controller. No game, no inbox game, no nothing. It was just the console and one controller. And like I said, when my dad bought it, it ended up being like 900 bucks. Now you were mentioning, and we'll go back to that. When you worked at Future Shop, how much was a Blu-ray player at that time?
200 on the cheap side.
To yeah, for the cheap ones, and like yeah, I don't know, people would buy it, but you didn't want the cheap one. You wanted
Well,
like
you were playing
you.
like the disc, like the Blu-ray movies, and that's like at that time when Blu-ray was coming out. That's when Planet Earth came out, so everybody kind of had a hard on for that. But like I remember,
Mm,
I still have them on Blu-ray because my ex's parents bought a whole Sony package, and that was the thing with Sony. Sony was home entertainment.
mm-hmm,
Toshiba had a foot in it, but Sony ran the gamut, and I think that was it. Is they wanted to turn one department into the focal point, and we talked about it with
mm-hmm,
PlayStation 2. But if you were Ken, and let me ask you this, Joe, if you were Ken Kutaragi coming off of PlayStation
mm-hmm.
2, wouldn't you have giant brass balls about PlayStation 3? Right?
Of
Like
course, the dude started like as soon as the PS2 launched, and like as soon as it was done and
he
ready to
was done, he
launch,
was
that
ready to go.
motherfucker. Well, yeah, and he started right away working on the PS3. Like it was right after that. Now, the interesting part with Ken Kutaragi is when the PlayStation 3 came out, the what do you call it? The CEOs and the head of the people or whatever, like the chair people, were like, okay, hey, what's the plan with the PS4? And his words were, the PS4 is not my problem. Like he was done. Whether he knew that there was a mistake made with the PS3 and he knew like it was going to not do as well as he thought, but there was something in him that was like, that's it. Like like the fact that he told the heads that like, hey, yeah, no, PS4 ain't my problem. You guys could decide that after, right? Like, and whether he was tired and planning on retiring after that or whatnot, like, but again, like that was supposed to be his swan song was the PS3,
And that
and
was it. And his claim to fame was the PS2. And you get to a
mm-hmm,
point, and like I said, sometimes I don't think play it. And up until today, I felt that it was like I didn't even give two F's about PlayStation 3, right? PlayStation 4 came out. Who cares? I had Xbox 360, and I wasn't going to drop $7 on a console.
mm-hmm,
But that was the thing. Like, imagine taking nothing, something someone told you weren't going to do, right? Because we
mm-hmm,
remember back to earlier episodes, Nintendo had a stranglehold on all of this, and if it wasn't for a dropped ball or the fumble, and this seems to be a reoccurring pattern in the console war, because we've been quiet about Nintendo, because while these two are over here, Nintendo's got other shit going on over here right now. But
mm-hmm,
Ken Kutaragi, I think he I know it was his swan song. That's it. There was he did everything he wanted to do. He brought
mm-hmm,
new technology. He did everything. If it wasn't for sales and revenue, like if we looked at this from a non-monetary perspective, he achieved what he wanted to achieve. He wasn't going to achieve anything greater, but some heads have to roll.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
$4.7 billion loss.
And also, for every PlayStation 3 they sold, they lost $200.
Yeah, it was
Like
ridiculous.
they were losing money on everyone that they sold. They couldn't come up with games quick enough when that first came out. Like they were just it was bleeding them, the PS3, for the longest time. Now, in the end, it won that generation because the 360 started trying to rely on just, and we talked about it in the Xbox thing, they just started just trying to rely on the Halo and like there are one or two good franchises and they're just riding that train. After the 2006, I think it was like 2007, 2008, 2009, the PlayStation 3 started rolling with the games, right? That's when again you got your Uncharted, you got Last of Us, I think, came out at the tail end of the PS3 because I remember running it. I thought my PS3 was going to blow up the way that it sounded when I was playing The Last of Us, right? Like, and if you had a PS4, you had the same thing when it came to like God of War when it came out near the tail. Like, it just sounded like your machine was going to destroy itself. But again, they came out with Uncharted, Little Big Planet, Infamous. I don't know if we all remember Infamous. Infamous was a pretty good game made by Naughty Dog, which Naughty Dog, like they better give Naughty Dog whatever fucking money
For putting up with their
that
shit.
Naughty Dog asked for. One, for putting up with their shit and for changing this and Naughty Dog figuring it out and coming up with awesome games. But two, now people are going to say like Square Enix and stuff, but Square Enix is making games for both companies now. Like they're not just like partnered with PlayStation. Naughty Dog and Insomniac are like the companies that are keeping PlayStation going. In my heart, I believe. Like there are smaller companies making games, but fucking Naughty Dog, like again, Uncharted, Infamous, and Last of Us were all Naughty Dog fucking franchises that are still running. Let's say technically today, Last of Us 2 has been riding that GTA 5 train where they're just coming out with every system, right? Uh, but I digress. In 2008, they did rebrand. So they changed their logo, right? They started to become smarter. This is when they started climbing up those charts and started catching up with Xbox. Um, so they rebranded with the PS3 Slim. They dumbed it down. They made it cheaper. I think it was like $2.99 at this point. They were
Yep.
selling it
Yeah,
for.
it was
Uh,
pound for pound
yeah,
with the Xbox.
yeah. Like and again, the different design. I think it was like a top loader thing. They took away a bunch of the ports. They did all the stuff to make it cheaper. Changed the logo, but and we could you all could look this up on YouTube. Again, PlayStation, for what it's worth, their marketing campaigns are always really good. The Crash Bandicoot one for the PS1 era, fucking phenomenal, dude. Like those are great. The Kevin Butler commercials,
Yes,
where the fake
were
CEO,
yeah,
you remember, fucking phenomenal, dude. So
creme de
funny.
la creme.
Oh, dude, and again, this is where they started to get their shot, right? They're coming out with their games. They're catching up. They're coming out with new games. They're not just remaking games. They're not just taking a franchise from like the PS1, PS2 area and bringing it in. Like they're coming up with new IPs, which is good because again, those franchises are still lasting today, and those are their mascots. Now, you wouldn't look at Drake from Uncharted. You wouldn't look at now Infamous. They haven't come out since the PS4, which they really should. Again, you asked me that question the last recording on franchises. Infamous is another one that I wish they'd come out with. A superhero franchise where you get to pick if you want to be good or bad, and depending, you get the powers and all. Really cool game. But yeah, so 2008 they did that. Things riding high. They're doing all their shit. 2011 is where they started having problems again. Now you didn't own the PlayStation at the time, but I do remember this. Um, their network was hacked.
I
The
do
whole
remember
fucking
that.
network.
I do remember that was a big
Yeah,
thing.
it was huge, dude. It was down. PlayStation Online was down for 23 days. People couldn't play games. They couldn't do anything because a lot of the games required you to be online. People couldn't play their PlayStation for almost a month. Um, and it was credit card numbers, like all this personal information people got. Now, whether it was used or whatever, like Mine, as far as I know, was never like, my credit card charges were fine, whatever, right? But it was huge, dude. Like it was down. Like I believe that fuck up cost them $171 million, um, in basically retribution or restitution or whatever the fuck it's called. Plus, they got fined by uh, the EU. I can't remember if there was a certain corporation in the EU, but
Probably
for
some kind of
breach,
privacy and securities. Yeah.
yeah, breach of security. They got fined. I can't remember now. I can't remember the number if it was 20 million or 20,000. 20,000 kind of is in my head, which doesn't sound like
But
much, but still, they were fined.
when you're bleeding billions, the millions don't matter anymore. Like
Hmm.
it, and
Yeah.
and that's it. But that was a different time because, and just for those who didn't go, because the one thing that PlayStation did have and they did offer, because at this point they were trying to keep pace with the 360 up until, oh, there we go. But they were trying to keep
Yeah.
pace
I
with the
noticed it was
360.
getting blurry.
No, it's all good, bro.
Yeah.
You've cut out a couple times, but I think it's just the internet. But yeah, but anyways, so when PlayStation came out with PlayStation Network, it was a free service. On Xbox 360,
Hmm.
you had to pay. So what better place to get everyone's information than a community of, let's just say, 500 million people, probably users in the
Hmm.
PlayStation Network, who have credit cards? Because now online buying has now become a thing. Because for those who were born, post 2005, this has been a part of your life. It wasn't back in the day. Like online, being able to go pick up groceries and order them in was not a thing. Like this is new thing, people. But what happened then is everybody got very comfortable. The PlayStation Network, like you said, it ruled everything, but this was their step up. And we talked about this in the Xbox episode, that with Xbox, online gaming was the thing, right? It
Dude, it
was
was fucking awesome
it
on the
was
Xbox.
a
It was great.
cheap version, because Sony,
Hmm.
like we talked about, was always the gold standard, and same with the
Hmm.
PlayStation 3. And that's why, if you asked me yesterday at this time, I still would have, fluffed off the PS3. But I understand Ken Kutaragi now, because I've had this. This is the
Hmm.
same thing, right? You put your heart and soul into something, and albeit a business failure, a monumental success. And
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
but who needs six USB? What was the point of having six USB ports? But his dream was to have one in every home, much like it was Microsoft's dream to have a PC in every home.
Hmm.
And that,
Again, his dream all along was to kill off PC gaming. Initially, it was to kill off Sega, which they did, which again didn't help with the ego. They fucking destroyed a gaming company into
they
submission.
they they could
And
have brought them in. And I thought about this, because had they absorbed like Sonic the Hedgehog the way that other companies are absorbing like the Marvel heroes, the way
uh
that Disney went and just took everybody you loved from your childhood and turned them into a Disney character now. Um, but it's true. But it was the Wild West on the internet, man. And that was it.
mhm,
But I found that, and I had forgotten about that hack. But stuff like that became prominent now. We're going into an age where, kind of leading into PlayStation 4, because PlayStation 4, in my opinion, was probably the greatest console ever created. And I know you like GameCube, and I only say this
mhm.
because the PlayStation 4, for someone like me, gave me everything I needed. It gave me the media center. It gave me that because I wanted to use my console as a computer.
Right.
And the one thing that PlayStation 3 brought about, and we talked about it, was the jump into HD gaming, the Blu-ray capabilities, but the
Hmm.
fact that it was one unit that eventually did need to get, literally, as they referred to it, slimmed down. Um, but that was the only way, right? Because the average consumer, like you said, wasn't going to shell out 600 when I can get the Xbox 360 for 300. But like you said, is it was a cheaper quality of game. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
You had a
It
lot
was
more
like the
games, but it wasn't the level. Like we talk about Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1 is probably still one of the greatest games ever done. Spider-Man 2, I played it on this laptop. It almost destroyed my system, but amazing game.
oh,
But
dude, for open world and for the it defined the swinging mechanics. Like when
oh
Insomnia,
yeah,
yeah, when Insomniac was making the next Spider-Man for Sony exclusive, which I mean, right now is technically a mascot for Sony, which is fucking awesome. Um, when they look back on the Spider-Man 2 game on the it was PlayStation, original PlayStation. Fuck it, my brain. I can't remember whenever it was. They look back on that to be like, this was the time when they quote unquote perfected it. We just need to take it and tweak it. Like we need to figure out how they did this and fucking tweak it. Which again, I think that was made by the same people who made Tony Hawk, if I don't recall, or if I recall correctly.
could
The
be.
original Spider-Man on the PlayStation, Neversoft, I think the company was. They also made the Tony Hawk games, which is fucking crazy. Which is why I think Spider-Man was a unlockable character in Tony Hawk now. But yes, they. I fucking ramble.
No,
Um,
that's fine, man.
but
I just saw the lights from 2006 open in the back of your head there. So, just
oh yeah,
we're
dude, it
bringing it
unlocked
together.
like so much shit, dude. But yeah, they like the Spider-Man 2, the open world era, like it perfect like I think like you said, it's it's a great game. But I say perfect game, it's not because you go back to it now. But at that time, dude, like if they would have taken that game and made it cell shaded, it would probably still be a really good game now, right? Um, because any game that's cell shaded still looks good to this day. Sorry, it's fucking hot in this room, and I'm sweating
No,
like
you're
a
good. You're
pig.
good. It's all
um,
good. But that was the other thing too, and that's always been, since we're talking about heat, always been one of my gripes with PlayStation. PlayStations run fucking hot all the time.
yep,
I
PS5
know when
also
I
does.
moved in here, the kid had one upstairs, and it's louder than an air conditioner. But like I said, it was, for me, I got more out of the PlayStation 4 than I did any other console.
Hmm.
PlayStation 3 was at a time in my life where I was busy. I did stuff, right? I can't remember. Oh, I got the 360 just for GTA. That's what it was. Like, that was it. That was Fable 2 and
GTA
GTA.
4, I
Yeah.
think.
And
Yeah,
that's it.
GTA 4.
And
Yeah.
when we talk about it, the PlayStation 3, as far as franchises, and you brought them up, right? We had The Last of Us starting, we had Little Big Planet, Metal Gear Solid was, the fourth one, Uncharted
Oh
2.
yeah.
But there's games that I don't even remember. And I think that every console has these games. They kind of womp womp, right? We were going to compete with someone, but Halo is always going to be Xbox's mascot. That is not changing any way, shape, or form. So PlayStation 3 came out with Haze, didn't work out. Um, but when we look at it, if they had the technology from PlayStation 3 with the 2, right? What would we have?
Hmm.
We would have our PlayStation 4. Because not only did the PlayStation 4 just, to kind of get us there, because I notice this. What is the one thing you notice? If you look at the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation 4, one of these things just ain't like the other, right? The 2 and the 4 are a boxier version, right? It
Hmm.
is that
Hmm.
classic, this is a gaming console feel.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
again, ugly as sin. It's a brick. There's no other way to do it. Um,
You can't sell consoles without games, and I'm going to fucking hammer this in probably every single fucking
yep,
podcast we do. You can't sell consoles without games. When you make it hard for developers, and this is again why the PS4 did succeed, amongst other things. Again, what Xbox should have done was look at what the PS3 did and not do any of it, and they kind of decided to be like, they had a good idea. We're gonna make our multi. We could get into that next time.
yep,
Fuck it, holy shit. Um, but if you're making it hard for developers to make games, you're not going to sell consoles, right? Like the reason why 360 was selling consoles is because they got games,
Why do
right?
what
PlayStation
games
3.
what games other than Sonic the Hedgehog do you remember for Sega? Please.
I'm trying to think, and I
You
know
can't.
there's
Even
games.
he can't.
Like
There
yeah, I
was
know there's games, but were
Blades of
they hit
Steel. No, that
games?
went to Nintendo. Like,
Like I'm thinking like Echo the Dolphin, but again, it
yeah,
wasn't a hit game.
who gives
I'm
a shit?
thinking Toe Jam and
Nobody.
Earl, but it
But
wasn't a hit game, right? But like you're right, like Sega had Sonic, right? And that was it. Uh, Nintendo has fucking countless.
and
That's why
that's
they
it. But
sell
it's the
games.
games,
That's why they sell
right?
fucking games. PS3 didn't have a lot of games in the beginning. Near the end of the console life, that's when they started coming out with games,
And that being
right?
said, Joe, let me ask you a question. That being said, do you feel that PlayStation's games towards the end save the console's life?
100%. I like if they didn't come out with Last of Us, it was Last of Us,
Little Big
Uncharted.
Planet was still
They
pretty big too.
was big. Uncharted wasn't at the end of the life cycle, but Uncharted 1 was 2007, Uncharted 2 was 2009. The console was officially done in 2017, but let's just say like it was fucking
Yeah.
once the PS4 came out, it was fucking done, right? Um, but yeah, I think like if those games wouldn't have come out when they did, I think that console it would have been done. And again, if it wasn't for their first party developers, fucking again, kudos to them. Give Naughty Dog, fucking take my money. Whatever fucking
Loyalty.
game those guys make, dude.
Loyalty.
Whatever fucking games those guys make, I will buy in a heartbeat because I know that they're quality games. But if it wasn't for them, the PS3 would have died so much sooner. The PS3, like, I'm not gonna say it would have been a Dreamcast failure because the Dreamcast only lasted like a year or two, but I don't think it would have lasted to 2017. I would have gave that console 5 years, and it probably would have died, in my opinion. 100%.
All right.
100%.
So now that we've talked about the black sheep, let's go into PlayStation 4 because PlayStation 4, like you said, this was the run it back season for PlayStation. Right, we had that come out. When was that? The 2013, 2014, give or take?
20, I want to say
2013, even earlier.
2013.
So, but the one thing
Yeah,
is that
2013.
the PlayStation 4 was running off of the x86. We're around the rest of the world now. Developers can develop freely. They're running around Central Park dancing like little fairies because now we all speak the same language again. But with the birth of the PlayStation 4 was the metaphorical death of Ken Kutaragi and that era for
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation. And again, if we go back to the first episode, we talked on this. Um, you know, I don't think his mission was a failure. I think that without Ken Kutaragi, Nintendo would have dominated the market. I think that
Oh, dude, the Wii was out at that time. Oh yeah.
so. I think that
Sorry, no, not the
no,
PS3. You're
it's true,
saying,
but that's
yeah.
it. But just to give some homage to the guy who said it, and it didn't go out like he went out like Jake Paul, but it's but
And I think
man,
I not yeah, I think if it wasn't for, and I'll go as far as say this, I think if it wasn't for Ken Kutaragi, Xbox would have came in to Japan and given the people a more mature system, right? Because yes, they had the Nintendo, and we can't forget that there's a lot of games out there that we're not getting. But again, Nintendo, who also own Love Hotels but are very family friendly somehow, um, they yeah, tell me how that works. I think that if it wasn't for Ken Kutaragi, Xbox would have a bigger market in Japan and Europe for that matter. Because if it wasn't for the PlayStation, like Xbox had no competition when it come to, let's call it, mature um, game consoles, right? Maybe and it's hard to say because maybe the Sega Saturn and Dreamcast would have done better, right? Because it was a decent console and the games were pretty good, right? They did have the Tomb Raiders and they had Virtual Fighter, or obviously Sonic, but again, to take Sonic into a 3D world is a big issue, and I think to this day they're still having that problem. They came out with Sonic Frontiers, which I've never played, but I watched gameplay, and to me it seems like it'd be very hard to play. You got somebody who's moving super fast in an open world area, you're missing half your shit. Um, so it's tough to say if Sega would still be around, because it wasn't just PlayStation that was their demise. It was them themselves, which that's going to be a whole nother podcast because Sega is very interesting when you look into their market and you look into like their business and you look into what they're doing, and their struggles between Sega of Japan, Sega of America, um, the interfighting with them. So a big part was Sega. But yeah, I don't think if it wasn't for Ken, for sure Xbox, I think even would have demolished Sega. If in my opinion, I think like
In my opinion,
I
Sega
truly
didn't
think.
have enough to keep the fight going. I think, regardless, I think that Sega's main competition was Nintendo. Sega was
Hmm.
a very animated friendly, Cartoon Network friendly type gameplay experience, whereas we talked about this, gamers evolved at that point from children into teenagers, young adults, and we
Hmm.
wanted a more mature game system. But I think that Ken Kutaragi, he paved the way for a lot of
Hmm.
shit to come after. And like we said, as far as a business, PlayStation 3 was an absolute flop. Um,
Hmm.
but as far as innovation, maybe not. Maybe not. I'd give him that.
Yeah.
I'll give him that battle. So let's talk PlayStation 4. So the PlayStation 4
Yeah.
comes out. Let me ask you this, Joe. Do you
Hmm.
think that after the PlayStation 3, that the PlayStation 4, didn't wasn't quite as innovative? Were they playing it safe at this point?
100%. They learned. They learned from their fucking mistake, dude. And I said it before. They were fucking humbled. They realized that maybe they weren't the big dogs that they thought they were, right? Maybe um, they couldn't do whatever the fuck they wanted. Maybe they couldn't stranglehold consumers into shelling out and putting out a second mortgage on their home just to afford their console. Um, and maybe they couldn't fucking armbar developers into learning their own fucking system that they wouldn't fully share to their fucking developers, right? Like I think and again, I'm glad the PS3 happened, not because it was a good system, but because
It
it
was a
taught
necessity.
PlayStation, it taught PlayStation a lesson, dude. Like it and this goes to like competition, right? How I always say there always needs to be competition because without competition, like everyone's gonna lax.
Yeah.
This just showed them that they couldn't do whatever the fuck they wanted, right? This just showed them they weren't the big dogs. This just showed them all that stuff. So they learned, and they're like, "Yo, what made the PS2 great? And let's just make a better version of that. Let's just not be innovative. We don't need to be fucking innovative. We don't need to create a whole new way of making video games and everything. Let's just create something simple, something that's easy for developers to use because we need fucking games. We can't we can't sell a hardware at a loss and also not have fucking games. So let's just make something that's easier for everyone. Let's make something that's, I wouldn't say cheaper because I can't remember what the initial. price of the PS4 was, but I'm pretty sure it was cheaper than the fucking PS3. That's for sure.
Yeah, and
Like,
they had what, the Xbox One, give or take $500. So when it came out,
yeah, PS4 initial. I just want to look it up. I know this is
I can
fucking
do your
awesome
thing, bro.
podcasting. Price initial price $399, dude.
Still affordable,
500.
questionable, but affordable.
Yeah, which is understandable, but again, $300 less than their older unit was selling for, right? I also think like, so yes, what they did was safe. Whether they knew what Xbox was doing at the time, they had to have, because corporate espionage is everywhere. Um, so I think they played it safe, one, because they learned from their mistakes, and they played it safe, two, because they knew what Xbox was trying to do, and they probably knew that they could beat them, right? Because I'm pretty sure we didn't get into it with the Xbox one, because I think we
Yeah,
ran out of time because we were blowing our wads over the 360.
yeah.
Um, but the Xbox One was a failure. What their marketing, what their everything, what they wanted it to be was a fucking failure from the beginning, and they fucked up. And that's part of the reason why the PS4, because I think that if the Xbox didn't fuck up their strategy, I don't think the PS4 would have ran away with that generation, because they did. They fucking
Right.
ran away with that
Yep.
generation. We went back to our top selling all. The Xbox One ain't on there. The Xbox Series X and S ain't on there. But the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are fucking on the top 10 selling list of all time, right? Which it doesn't help that we've been knocking the shit out of the PS3. But it did, as of now, it sold more than the PS5. So, but the
But
PS5 is
we're
still
also
early on.
talking, a decade of being in the market.
Right. But yeah. So, I think they definitely fucking played it safe, and it was on purpose because they fucked up royally with the PS5. Ken Kutaragi
PS3,
was
yeah.
not there. Oh, sorry, PS3. Ken Kutaragi wasn't there um, to try to sell his vision. I'm sure if he was still there, I'm going to be honest with you, if he was still there, I don't know if he would have learned his lesson from the PS3. I think he was such an innovator that he would have tried something new. I think he was trying to go the Nintendo route and try to make every fucking console as different as possible, is what I think his plan was. So
Because that's the kind of guy he was, right? That's it.
not knocking him, but
It
I think if he was still around with the PS4, I feel like it would have been a completely different system.
Let me ask you this: do you feel that the PS5 would have come out if Ken Kutaragi had a replay on the PS3? If he could go back in time, here, if Ken
Mm-hmm.
Kutaragi could go back in time, do you think he would abandon the PlayStation 3 and create something different?
I don't know. Like, are you asking me if he would have tried to perfect what the PS3 was trying to do? I think so.
Would
I
the
think
vision
I th-
change? If he knew what he
I
knew
think
then, would the vision change?
uh, mm, yeah, I think so. I think so because even though again the PS3 did eventually ship out and outsell the Xbox 360, um, it wasn't a hit, and he didn't look like a god. When the PS1 and the PS2 came out, he was the god to gamers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
He
and then
was
they
the
found
innovator. He
out.
made fucking awesome. The PS3 came out and everybody fucking shit on it. Right? Again in that documentary, I think it was was it from Gabe Newell, I think is his name, from Steam. He knocked the PS3. He fucking hated trying to develop for that shit.
Yeah.
And then there was some other guy, I can't remember, he was a third party developer and he was talking shit, but he was being professional during the interview. But he also mentioned how fucking annoying, fucking kitty.
It
He
is.
fucking ADD. He mentioned how annoying it was to create, right? So like, and I'm sure in the back end, Ken Kutaragi was getting shit on by the higher ups. Like there's no way he wasn't, right?
If he knew PlayStation 4 wasn't his problem, then he knew then, right? Because he ended up taking a chair position, which he left 1 year later.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think his vision for gaming came true. The results monetarily, I don't feel were there. And now we've got PlayStation 4. But I want to ask, because again, PlayStation 4 was that next gen console for me, right? I started off with PlayStation 1, I went into Xbox 360, and then I'm back to PlayStation. And it'll probably be if PlayStation 6 comes out, I'll probably end up getting it. But PlayStation 4 for me, um, I didn't realize what it was until I borrowed it from you. I didn't have that passion for games, and I know that it was considered a flop. Days Gone is still an amazing game. I don't care what anybody says. For me, that was it. The When they remade God of War, because now we've when they remade God of War, and this is the thing, because we're heading into an era of remakes right now, and if God of War wasn't remade, would would PlayStation have the success that it had in the fourth and fifth generation, do you think?
Mm. I okay. Yes, I yes. I'm trying to look back on the games that were exclusive for PS4,
So we've got God of
which
War that
would
was done,
yeah,
Bloodborne, Spider-Man,
Bloodborne,
and Zero Dawn.
Spider-Man. Right. I'm gonna tell you right now, buddy, I should have pulled up your old notes because your old notes had all that shit, and I was trying to rack my brain on all that shit. Um, God of War was a very good game. Um, I think no, yeah, I think the PS4 still would have been a success, right? That's your question. I think it still would have been a success because like the other games that you mentioned. Now, I will tell you, I haven't played Bloodborne because I am. If anybody watches my streams, I always mention I'm a fucking mediocre gamer. I'm shocked that I got past Claire Obscure where it came to timing and fucking shit like that. Because I know Bloodborne is like a what would you call it, a Souls like game where timing and everything is very imperative, and I don't have that. But I know from people that I've talked to and podcasts that I listen to, people are raving for a new one, a remake or a sequel or something from Bloodborne. So I think without God of War, I still think PS4 would have still done amazing because you had Uncharted 4 and Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 was okay, not gonna lie. Uncharted 3 was pretty wait, no, I take that back. Uncharted 3 was okay. Uncharted 4 was pretty good. Um Horizon Zero Dawn, I did play it. I had a open world fatigue when I was playing it, so I didn't
That's
finish
fair.
it. Because again, a lot of games are just doing open world, and
Assassin's Creed, everything else, yeah,
I think I
it
just
was a
came off
thing.
like an Assassin's Creed game, and then I jumped right into that fucking game, and I just was so tired of open world. But again, came out with a sequel, came out with a Lego version,
Hmm.
so it had to have been fucking good, and it was cool. A new IP that is successful nowadays is rare. You mentioned the whole going into everyone's just remaking and rebooting things
Yeah, we're getting
nowadays.
to we're getting into a vibe right now.
TV shows, movies, video
Agreed.
games, because it's safe, right? People like it and it's safe. Every time a new IP comes out, I would say 30% of the time it's a hit. Maybe even less, maybe even 20% of the time it's a hit
Yeah.
nowadays, right? People don't like change nowadays. Change is scary. People don't like it. Change usually means bad, right? So, sorry, going back to your initial question, PS4 still would have succeeded. The Spider Man fucking games, amazing. I know, and people are going to be like, they're just an Arkham Batman ripoff. I know. It's fine. They took the combat, but
Relax.
they
It's
made
fine.
yeah they made the combat better. Okay, like it's fluid. If you feel like fucking Spider Man, it's great. Again, Insomniac, give them all the money they fucking want. Um, Zero Dawn, fucking without what was the other one that you mentioned? I said Uncharted. Anyways, there was
Uh,
fucking a slew of games on the PS4
yeah.
that were amazing. Did we need God of War? No, but we got it, and it was fucking great. It was great, and we got the sequel, which was great. Still waiting on the third one. Probably not till PS fucking six. That's fine. I'll wait for it. Great. Um, we gotta talk about how great that game was, though, dude. That whole no real loading, all one shot, like a fucking movie. Oh my fucking the power of the PS4, buddy. Give me a game like that, Xbox. You fucking can't, can you, bitches? Sorry. We're looking for sponsors. I shouldn't talk shit about companies. Sorry.
It's okay. Don't
Uh,
worry.
yeah, no, the PS4 would have succeeded whether it was for God of War or not. I think it helped. It really fucking helped. And I think now people are just like, I'm waiting for that PS6. I'm gonna buy that PS5 to play Ragnarok. Um, Probably a mistake for Sony to start releasing games on PC, because then PC gamers are just going to wait because they know all the big games are going to come out onto PC. It was probably a mistake by Sony. I understand why they were doing it. I think it was a mistake. Keep your exclusives if you want people to buy your games, right? Again, the charts don't lie. Fucking five of the five systems that came out, not including handhelds, are on the top 10. You don't need to release your games onto another console. So yes, fucking, you're gonna have to probably clip a 10-minute rant into like a minute. But the
That's what I
PlayStation
do.
4 definitely would have been a success without God of War. I think,
Fair
personally,
enough.
it had enough games, it had enough exclusives. It would have been a success.
I think the one, but overall though, what PlayStation lacked in the earlier generations was online stability. Xbox,
To
that was
this
Xbox's
day,
game.
bro.
And I don't know with the PS5, I have yet to play one, but with the PS4 it got better. It got much better. In my opinion. I didn't play much like when I started streaming. I played
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite here and there and then I got my laptop. But even now like if I'm and I just went back to it and this was the game that got me back in love with video games, The Witcher 3, because like you said, you had open world fatigue, but Dan needed open world, and that
Mm-hmm.
was it. So me and my trusty Steed Roach went through and did everything because I'm very much an open world RPG kind of guy. That's
Mm-hmm.
just how I roll. But PlayStation went back to what they felt safe with, which after the billions and billions of loss, um, you have to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's one thing that is pivotal in most companies is what did we succeed on? So they went back and they fixed because arguably PlayStation 2, in my opinion, online was shit, right? If you
Yep. Oh
fix
yeah.
but this was Ethernet time, right? When we you had to hook up and do everything. But PlayStation 4, I think, just set the bar of this is what we want. And again, it became the player's console again. Because
Mm-hmm.
in a world evolving now to PC, and we'll talk about, Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that, because there's going to be some things PlayStation is not going to be. But PlayStation's exclusives, like you said, are the reason why motherfuckers buy it. right? I knew that you would buy it, so I didn't have to buy it because when you were
Mm-hmm.
tired of it, I would just go borrow it from you, which is why I have your
Mm-hmm.
2 and your 4 here. But it's stuff like that. Like
That's where they are.
PlayStation for me was a true gamer's console. Xbox is for anybody. If I brought, a friend over who never played video game, Xbox is easy to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
It's very user friendly. Now,
It is.
I say
Yes.
that because I wouldn't consider myself a gamer, but it doesn't matter what game I play. The setup on the Xbox controller is my UI. That is how my
Mm-hmm.
brain operates. But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, Joe, you will never get
No,
the
you're.
quality of game on an Xbox console that you will through a PlayStation console.
Wait, say that again. Sorry.
Will you, in my opinion, I don't think that you will ever get um, the quality from a console game from Xbox the same way you would from a PlayStation game. Like you
No,
talked
you
about,
would.
and it brings us back, right? Blu-ray versus HD or DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sony just takes it into the gold level every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
what happened is the hype coming off of 2 for 3 was huge, right? But I think those were the dark days of CGI because if anybody remembers, we can go back and watch. Case in point, and we talked about this, Hulk and Green Lantern back in those times. That was CGI at its finest. And then someone actually learned how to use Adobe, and now we're much better for it. But
Mm-hmm.
we are evolving into, well, myself anyways. You've always been you're a console guy. Dan goes for the deal, but Joe will ever remain faithful to his consoles as well as PC. But
Mm-hmm.
I think in today's day and age, we are moving. Like PC gaming was around. PC gaming always kind of had its own genre, right? Like Doom, Age of Civilizations, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw the birth of the smartphone. One we're not really going to touch on them here. I don't even remember the PlayStation Vita. Couldn't fucking remember
No,
that one.
yeah, the PSP, the PlayStation Vita, which I remember I was actually just talking with my brother Tim today,
Yeah.
and we were talking about like the PlayStation Portal
Oh
because he
fuck.
has it, and he was telling me how like he's like it doesn't fucking work anymore. He's like I don't understand why it doesn't work. I don't understand like what the problem is like because really with the PlayStation, if no one's familiar with it, if we all remember the Wii U, that's a PlayStation Portal.
Okay.
It's a handheld device. It's basically an 8-inch tablet, maybe a 10-inch tablet, and take a PlayStation 5 controller, cut it in half, glue it together onto it, and it's that. And it works in your house to stream the game on your PlayStation 5 to this device. So you could be laying in bed playing this game. Okay. Now, it does technically work on a Wi-Fi connection when you're not home, but your PlayStation has to be on. It will not turn the PlayStation on from that device because he was trying to show me when he was here last year how it worked, and he had to call his buddy at his house to turn his PlayStation on in order for it to
Holy.
turn on. Yeah. And now he's telling me it doesn't work. He's like, I haven't played it in 6 months because it just stopped working, right? Um, so, and I told him the problem with PlayStation is that if it's not a hit right away, they say fuck it. And this goes back to the PS3 is what I think. Because of how much of a disgrace I'm going to use the term
That's
disgrace the
fair.
PS3 was. It it wasn't, but it was in their minds. It was. Um, how much of a disgrace it was, and how much money you're saying 4.7 billion
Billion.
dollars that they put into
US
that
dollars,
they
by the way,
lost,
not Canadian.
right? Yeah, in that shit. So because of that, if something is not a major success, they say fuck it, we're done with it. The PSP, the PS Vita, the PSVR, the PSVR 2, the PlayStation Move.
Oh
We didn't
fuck.
even get into that in the
Let's
PS3
not.
era, right? Yeah. All that shit could have been like Sony is really good with technology. They could have worked on it, Give me a Sony handheld, dude. I want to play a Sony game when I'm on the plane. Like, don't get me wrong. Again, I love Nintendo. But if I had my choice in between bringing a Switch and bringing the next portable PlayStation handheld with me on a trip, I'm bringing that PlayStation portable handheld. I could play my Final Fantasy remake, Rebirth, my Uncharted, my this, my all these really awesome fucking graphically awesome games I could bring with me, or I could play Mario, which I love
Which you
Mario,
can beat in
but
4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
right, do you know what I mean? And with battery life and graphics and all that stuff, like again, they just because of the PS3, and it goes by what you're saying with the PS4, because of the PS3, everything they do now is safe. They will try something every once in a while, again, the VR, but if it doesn't make them money right away, they will cut that shit off at the knees and fucking pretend it doesn't exist.
But you've got boards to go back to, and I view things everything like an advocate and a businessman. But that's it, right? Because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
if I was in Ken Kutaragi's shoes, I would have done the same thing. I saw my vision to completion. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
profitable, but if dollars and cents and yen didn't matter, I'd feel like I climbed Everest. So
Mm-hmm.
let me ask you this then, because I still haven't played PlayStation 5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think PlayStation 3 to 4, there was a significant jump. From
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation 4 to 5, in your opinion, Joe, really, what was the biggest innovation? Like, what would make, other than, it's just 10 years newer,
Mm-hmm.
what's the real take
Uh,
on it? Because you've had it for about a year
First of all,
now.
yeah, dude. Okay, so first of all, biggest difference. I noticed fucking load times, bro.
Okay.
I get so annoyed now when I play games
And you gotta wait.
and there's like a 10-second fucking load time, dude. Like a 20 to 20 second. I go back and I play older games on PC or on the PlayStation or whatever on Nintendo. Okay, so perfect example. Mandy is playing the new Pokemon Legends ZDA right now. There's a fucking load screen when I want to fast travel, when I want to go into through a door into a building, when I'm like I'm outside and there's a tower, but like really it's only the top of it, and I go in through the doorway and there's a fucking 20-second load. Like it is, what is the year 2026? Nintendo. Why do you have fucking the PlayStation 5? Cut that shit out, dude. Like when I loaded up, when I loaded up Spider-Man for the first time and I hopped in the subway to go and like fast travel, I, I am not kidding you, dude.
Like that, eh?
That's
See,
it.
and that's the thing.
I'm not even exaggerating, dude. There's no fucking load time at all. Like, I'm playing Final Fantasy Rebirth right now on the PS5. I don't know what the fuck's a load time, dude. Now they've learned to hide it. This is the difference. They've learned to hide it with that SSD that they got in that bitch. They learned to hide it. So every time, and you'll see it when you play God of War. You'll see it when you play other games now. Notice it, y'all. You'll see it. There is a load time. You got to go through a little space in between two walls, and you're crawling in between them. You got to go underneath, and you got to crawl through something. Those are your load times now, dude. But they learned to hide it, and there's no black screen anymore. You wait 20 seconds. When you die, it's just fuck it, dude. You're back in the game, right?
Is speed.
Like that's the biggest difference that I've. Other than we could say graphics, but again, after a certain point, like your eyes could only see so much. Your eyes can only see so much difference, right? Like we were talking the other day when we were playing Claire Obscure, that to get it to run properly while we were streaming, we had to drop down the graphics to like low. Still looked fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see a big difference, right? Um, so graphics, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, graphics, yeah, it looks kind of cool. That and the controller, bro.
Talk to me about the controller.
I
What's
me-
new?
yeah, I mentioned I think with the PS3 they had the lawsuit with haptic feedback. They must be working with that company this whole time because now with the controller, you have your haptic feedback. So not only do you have like the vibration, right, the rumble, but when it's raining, you could feel the individual
Oh,
raindrops
really?
depending on what side. Dude, I'm not even kidding, not even exaggerating, bro. If it's raining outside and you're holding the controller and it's raining like this, you feel the individual vibrations through the
That's
controller. Yes, it's motion controlled, right? Whatever, that's cool. They had that since the six axis. But the haptic feedback on the triggers, if you're a Call of Duty player, I'm not. You could feel the difference between each gun. You could
okay.
feel like if it's like quick, if it takes a while, the pressure to pull. Um, in some games, I'm playing again Final Fantasy VII Rebirth right now. Sometimes I gotta open doors and stuff with them, and if it's a heavier door, it makes you press harder. Like you feel the resistance
Okay.
when you're playing a when you're playing a racing game. You could feel the resistance depending on what car you're driving for, like gas and brake, right? Like it's 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 hard to explain when you get it, if you all buy a PS5, if you ever decide to buy a PS5, they'll give you Astrobot for free. Astrobot will show you, it's basically the tech demo game, but it's a really
Okay.
good game. Will show you the difference, right? There, what else did I have? Now, the battery life on the controller isn't the greatest because it's outputting so much power. Because it's also got a speaker, it's also got a light. Like
Oh,
sometimes,
fuck.
like depending what you're playing, like the light will tell you if you're dying or not, right? Like it'll
Oh,
turn from green to red, right? So you know you're dying, right? But the biggest thing is that haptic feedback. You feel the resistance, you feel the rumble, you could feel like also I'm wearing them right now. The 3D Pulse headset. I know there's probably a lot of 3D headsets around. You wear this shit and you play a PlayStation game, dude, it is unbelievable. Like you move your character around, even if I move my head around, my character's looking this way, I move my head this way, it's talking just out of here.
really?
If I move my head back, it centers. If I move my head here, it talks. If I move my character around, the distance, you could hear. Well, what game was it? I think it was Ghost of Tsushima. Really used it properly. Um, you would hear what was it? The wind. You could hear the direction of like the fucking wind, bro. You
Me
could
and Joe
hear it
grew
when
up
you're
in the
playing Call
ghetto.
of
You
Duty
did
and
not
stuff,
hear the wind.
dude. You could, yeah, you could hear the footsteps all around you. You know where people are coming from because you could like hear the footstep over here or hear it like over here, right? So like the PlayStation 5 just all around. First of all, the speed of which it runs, phenomenal. Innovation of tech, the 3D audio, the like when I wear the headset and when I'm using the controller and when I'm sitting in the dark, with my TV and I'm playing a game, I'm in the world, dude. Like PlayStation perfected it. The PS5 perfected it. I'm in the fucking world, bro. I don't know what's going on around me. I can't hear
Doesn't
anything
matter.
around me. It doesn't matter because I feel it in my hands. I hear it here, and I'm watching it there. Um, Now, again, I've never really played the Xbox Series X, but from what I gather, I have people that have it, and I ask them what they're playing. They give me two responses: Call of Duty or Halo. I don't hear any other fucking game people are playing on that system, right? When I talk to people that are playing PlayStation, it's God of War, it's Spider Man, it's Final Fantasy, it's fucking the what else am I thinking? Last of Us 2. Like it's just again, the PlayStation has games, Xbox does not. So
Well, and that's it. But and now that we've kind of touched base on most of them, because now we're heading into, um, like I said, online and PC gaming. It's just more available. Like I will always say this, and we talked about it earlier. A true console gamer will always have a PlayStation. Nintendo to me is it's a kids unit. Like if your kid is
mhm.
just getting into, like for us, like if you've played video games for more than a decade, like Nintendo isn't as fancy and sparkly to you anymore. And like we said, the big thing with Nintendo is backwards compatibility. That is one thing that just isn't there. They don't need to do it. And while we've been talking PlayStation and Xbox, right, Nintendo came out with a Wii. So Nintendo
Hmm.
realized that it has to change the face of console. Now, that being said, in my opinion, Xbox is always going to be a PC.
Yep.
PlayStation is the true gamers console.
Yep.
And like I said, Nintendo is, it's still there, but it doesn't have the strength that it used to. Like with PlayStation 5, and like I said, I haven't played an Xbox since 360 because I can do everything on PC now. And even I was
Hmm.
reading with I can't remember what they called it, Mobius or Morbius, the new one that's coming out, the new Xbox. It's gonna
Hmm.
run
Yeah.
it's gonna run 8 bills, but it's a computer. That's all it is. It's a
It's
computer
a
in a
half
rectangle.
console, half computer. Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, anything is like, dude, this is a fucking Xbox now. Like,
but a
fucking,
PlayStation
I don't know.
will
Like,
always
it,
be a PlayStation.
you could play PlayStation games on your phone, but it's not the same.
But
And it's a little harder to run them off of there than again with an Xbox because
but
an Xbox just wants you to play games now. I think Xbox realized, and it's sad to say, I think Xbox is going the Sega route,
yeah,
and
it's
they're
just gonna
going
be it's gonna wind up being
to
PC gaming. That's all it is.
that's it, right? They'll sell the PC. I think that they might try to get out of the home console market, especially, and we could whatever. It's not out yet, but when it comes out, I think it's going to be huge, especially when the Steam console comes out, because
But
they just announced that.
did you ever play the Steam Deck? I never have.
No, I haven't, but I've heard like a lot of people rave about it. Like again, it's
See,
just,
but that's the thing.
but
But you've got the Steam people. Like Carrie is a Steam person. I,
mhm.
like will find the cheapest motherfucking game I can because if I'm gonna buy Legend of Zelda, that'll be my Nintendo game because that is my exclusive. A PlayStation for me, like I said, I've been mooching off you and your brother for the better part of 30 years now. So I never feel the need to, but I like to call
You
you
would
guys when
have
it
to,
comes
brother.
out to be like, hey, how bad does your bank account hate you right now? But
Yeah.
Sony, the one thing Sony did that a computer still can't to this day, Sony brings you a world of immersion. And you said it
Yeah.
best, even with the resistance on a controller. And you've played probably every fucking game controller out there from D-pad to mouse and keyboard. And that's it, right? Because even when you talked to GameCube, you talked about the controller. There has to be something said. And like I said, I don't think, in my opinion, PlayStation won the console wars. They're coming to an end. But if PlayStation ever moves to PC, then it's not like the console wars are done. But we're getting into an age now where everything is cross-platform. Everybody just wants to buy shit. But when you're still talking Sony, and nothing like I'm an Xbox guy, through and through, but there's a reason why I drive the Jeep Cherokee Sport and not the Grand Cherokee, right? Sony is your Grand Cherokee, but it's
Mm-hmm.
an investment, right? It's an
Uh-huh.
immersion. I'm blind and half deaf. For me to be in the world of 4K, I don't even think I'm looking at 4K, but I'm pretty sure all I see is 720. And we talked about this. For us, it's not that big thing, right? PlayStation, the franchises are what built it. You could put together a roster of PlayStation games on the two. We're talking Gran Turismo, we're talking Forza, we're talking, or I guess not Forza, but you know,
Yeah.
Xbox is it's the Timo version of gaming. I'm gonna get a console. I'm gonna be able to play 100 games. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
absolutely effing pointless. Like we're just throwing them out to throw them out. But when you talk Naughty Dog, you talk Insomnia, we're making a game that we want to make. PlayStation will and forever be the player's champ. I don't think anybody can sway me wrong. If we had stopped at PlayStation 3, sure. Right? I could make the point for the 360. I could make it for the Switch, but the Switch sold consoles because it was something new. It got us to
Yeah.
move. We got to play. It brought that community that Xbox One. We can now play with our friends in our living rooms because during that decade of gaming, I think the community kind of faded. We got into our GTAs, we got into a lot more solo player. Like even when and I'm a big solo player, but with Fortnite and Call of Duty, you're not going to change too much. You can build games around it. It's just
Hmm.
going to be the same game with a different skin. Um
Yeah, I honestly think like again, Fortnite and like Call of Duty and stuff, it's ruining online experience,
yeah.
right? Because um like okay, so again, Naughty Dog for Last of Us, they created a whole online thing for Last of Us with factions and all that other things, right? But because it wasn't like as huge as like the Call of Duty and stuff community, it kind of like died off and no one heard about it. I didn't necessarily play it. I did hear about it after the fact, but it looked like super neato and it sounded really cool. But I think again, like, and Fortnite's not even like I've looked into it now, dude. Like, fucking, I know we're gonna go off on a tangent, but Fortnite is fucking not Fortnite anymore. I don't know what the fuck it is. Now, in order to play, from what I hear, they might start that soon or starting to now. In order to play Fall Guys and some other game, you have to go into the Fortnite server in order to play these games now. Um, yeah, I see the look on your face, dude.
Not
I'm not
happening.
wrong. It's something like that. There's two games now that they're Epic is taking and they're taking off a single like thing and they're putting into Fortnite. So you have to go into Fortnite in order to play these games.
Well,
Again,
I could see it becoming a communal game kind of folder when you think of it in that rate. Like when I was still running a Discord group and stuff like that, right? Community nights, these were the
mhm,
games you'd play. But even today, like I popped into Twitch and into someone's marbles. Marbles
Marvel
on
Rivals.
stream has evolved from exclamation mark play to being able to customize my marble. I can join a
Oh,
racing group online.
Marvels.
Yeah, marbles on stream. What did you think I said?
Yeah, I thought you meant Marvel Rivals,
No,
but Marvels,
still haven't played.
the racing game. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's shit like that. But Ratchet and Clank, God of War, these will always
Buddy,
be
I
PlayStation.
I
It doesn't
forgot
matter.
about that. I can't believe I forgot about that franchise. That was one of the first games I played on PS5.
I remember you playing
Dude,
it.
dude, yeah. When I get a PS6, I will send you my PS5. You have to play that fucking game
I'll probably
because
take it
oh
before,
my
but sure.
fucking god.
But this is it. But this is why me and you need to sit there for a day and just, binge necessity franchises because that was it. Like when we grew up, like, Metal Gear Solid, by the time it got past two, I could give two shits less about it. And
Yeah.
now it's coming back, but like, and we talked about the remakes. Like we talked about my eternal love for Fable and how I will never find happiness in any other relationship in my life until I get a remake to Fable that
Mm-hmm.
I can play on my laptop, please, on Game Pass
Mm-hmm.
for free
Mm-hmm.
because I love Xbox and we need a sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
But other than
But I
that,
love PlayStation, and we could use a sponsor with them as well. That'd be
yeah,
very, very, really cool.
you guys should just make us fight each other in a cage and just pay us. It's fine. But no, but that's the thing. But as far as I'm concerned, if we're bringing this all together, um, PlayStation, in my opinion, hands down, console war over.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I'm glad you said that. 'Cause, I know we're gonna finish this off soon.
Yeah,
What the fuck was South Park thinking when they made that three-part episode and they said Xbox One? What
because
the
it
fuck was
did.
that about? It didn't. It did.
One
Was that
as
not the PS4, Xbox One era when it came out?
because you
What
play
the
for the
fuck were they
love.
talking
You don't
about?
play for the money. See, that's the thing. I could tell you all day that if we brought all of these to today's dollar at the same currency, right? A PlayStation 2 would probably sell off 99 bucks plus tax. Xbox 360 would be the same because I would put those two
Mhm.
in the same category. PlayStation 3, Xbox One, who gives a fuck, right? And then PlayStation 4 came and changed the game. Because even now, like we talked about, we can do, doesn't matter how many consoles Xbox and Nintendo make, it'll never be PlayStation. I can make a computer be
Yeah.
Xbox, right? A
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo will always
Mm-hmm.
be a Nintendo, but we talked about this, and you talked about South Park, but we talked about it earlier. Sonic the Hedgehog, and we talked about this on the phone yesterday because
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring this into, we're gonna do games that were made into movies that probably should have been made into movies, but some that were
Mm-hmm.
actually phenomenal. But like for me, when you talk about my top fives, Joe, because again, I'm what you would call a vanilla gamer. Xbox is my jam. It's going to be The Witcher 3. It's going to be Ori. It's going to be, I'll even throw Legend of Zelda. But it's because I don't think I'm good enough for PlayStation. And I'll be honest. I don't think, and it's not really like that. I can fucking afford it. But I don't have the same immersiveness into
Mm-hmm.
games that PlayStation gives you, right? I
You
like I can play a game for 2-3 hours, but I'm not like you. I can't dedicate my week to where you're scheduling. Like even this, fucking sitting down with you for an hour. God damn, we were scheduled 3 times this weekend. It's not like I even fucking
Yeah,
work. But
bro,
but it's shit like this.
I'm telling you, when I let you borrow the PS5, I want you to get a copy of Last. Actually, I think you have my copy of Last of Us on the PS3, or no, I don't
4.
have the PS3, not PS4. But play Last of Us. You can play Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2 was alright, but play Last of Us and fucking tell me you don't cry, dude.
See,
Play like God of War and tell me you're not going to cry. So like, once you play games like that, I with an Xbox game I can't sit like Xbox games quick in and out, in and out.
that's what I
With
love.
PlayStation, I am having a hard time playing Final Fantasy Rebirth right now. Which again, it's a remake of Seven, but they split off and they were like, "Fuck you, Square Enix. I love you, but again, I hate you."
It's
Um,
not Squaresoft.
I'm having a
It's
hard,
not Squaresoft anymore.
yeah,
See, and
I'm
that's the
I'm
thing.
having I'm having a hard time playing it because I know I want the 5 hours to fucking. I know it's gonna be good enough for me that I need to sit there for 5 hours. And I need to sit there for 5 hours to appreciate it. Now, am I selling it with you? No, probably not. But I guess what I'm saying is with PlayStation games, it'll suck you in, and I can't right now in my life. I can't get too much into it because I got a daughter, got a
Family.
family, got whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually, I'll get back. But I used to be able to sit there, bro, with a PlayStation, 10 hours, no
Yep.
problem. Playing one fucking game because it's so fucking good. The story's so fucking good. The graphics are good. The mechanics are good. Again, with
But
Xbox,
but
yeah,
you're
okay, the Halos, I would sit there, but other than that, I don't know,
but it's
popping in for
different,
an
dude.
hour, get the fuck
Like,
off.
and that's the thing, and it's really the right way because PlayStation immersed gamers into a world. And the reason I like Xbox is because I know it's in and out. It's not a world to me. I am a whore for dopamine. And Xbox gives me all the dopamine I want in 2 hours. Like Pal World. I spent 500 hours in Pal World. What the fuck did I accomplish? Nothing. I
Yeah.
went back to school because I was like, I spent 500 hours on fucking Power World and I didn't
Yeah.
accomplish anything. I
You play
built
a
a
first
fuck,
party PlayStation game, it'll change your fucking
and that's
life,
it.
bro.
Because I loved Spider Man when I played it on Game Pass, but
Hmm.
I have yet to experience it on a PlayStation. Um,
You need to.
but and that's it because that's the difference between me and you, Joe. I'm here for cheap thrills, and you like to immerse yourself. But this is why Ghosts of Tsushima, shit like that, that's stuff you do. This is why whenever I'm looking at a new game, I irritate the fuck out of you. And then Joe's got to ask me. I'll be like, "Hey man, I just need a new game to play. Any suggestions? Oh, what console? What time of day? What's the lighting? The
What are you
fuck?
looking for?
Yeah."
Like, what are you feeling? Right? Are
And
you
then, oh, have
happy? Are
you
you
played Super
sad? Are
Mario?
you?
Get a life. but that's it. But I think that we can say hands down, and I know it's not. There's people that'll fight me, but as far as I'm concerned, um, PlayStation is the gold standard for gaming. Much
Hmm.
like Sony is the gold standard for home entertainment,
Hmm.
PlayStation immerses you into a different world. And like Joe said, we can call the PlayStation 3 the black sheep, but two, four, five, and even one
Hmm.
still reigns supreme over Xbox.
No,
Um, I like 360 was awesome because 360 gave you open world games at an affordable price. It was shit
yeah.
graphics. It wasn't great graphics.
And playing
But
with your friends, right? Like again, we can't knock it for its online community and what it did for the
and
online
that's what
world.
it was. It was to build
Hmm.
community. And I think that when you talked about South Park, it was the same thing. Because what was the defining factor was we just want to play games together. But
It
now
was
we've
just
got
online.
companies
It
cross
was.
platforming it. And like you said, PlayStation's biggest fault would be to release this shit on PC. I think
Yep.
PlayStation needs to stay pure. I think in a day and age where pickup trucks are now more plastic than metal. The Bluetooth hooks up to everything. Um, man, has anybody? When was the last time someone put a cassette tape in and just listened to a fucking cassette tape? It's probably
Listen to
me.
the what is that? Listen to that hi-fi,
But
lo-fi,
that's it.
hi-fi,
But that was
fucking
the thing with
static.
PlayStation. Like I can't go back and say that I want to play. There's no game on Xbox One that I want to play so bad that I'm going to go dust off my Xbox One. Now,
No.
that being said, I would dust off a PlayStation 2 because I have. Why? Because I wanted to play Resident Evil 4 again. So Dan went and bought it, bugged Joe for his PlayStation. I have played 5 minutes of that fucking game because every time I get scared too fast and I quit. But that's what PlayStation does to you. PlayStation gets in here and it
Dude,
wins the battle of the great. Like I said,
there's again, like you said, there's so many games that I just want to go back and like I know they're not going to be as good.
no.
I'm not dumb.
But how
Graphically, I
many times
know,
have
but
you
it's
replayed Final Fantasy VII?
oh dude, I
How
can't
many
even
times have you played Final Fantasy
I don't want
X?
to say. I
But
don't want
these
to
are the
say.
games of our generation, right? We talk about, and we're going to talk about Final Fantasy because it deserves its own episode altogether. But these were
Hmm.
games where we all, like I said, it was all of us going to your place trying to figure shit out together. We didn't have walkthroughs. All we had was gushers, your
Hmm.
mom's credit card, and no fucks to give. But that's how
Was
we
there
grew up.
ever was there ever an Xbox game that we stayed up all night playing trying to beat?
Not you, Need for Speed Underground. Me, Tim, and Mike.
Oh, oh right. Yes, I forgot you guys had your own little yes.
Yeah,
I'm
because you went
probably
off to have a girlfriend, so the losers had to go get jobs.
you're
And
right.
the thing,
You're
but we all
right.
worked. But the thing is, like, I worked third shift because I was DJing. Mike was working afternoons, and Tim was in at the brick at the morning. So we always rotated. But that fucking console did not get a break. There was like a week because
No,
we
it
beat
didn't.
it. Fuck, it took three of us like 2 days. And then we went back and tried to do anyways. And then it became a fight because Mike kept putting, fucking black eyed peas onto the soundtrack. It was a thing. Anyways. But
I guess my argument's invalid. I was going to be like, you remember Metal Gear Solid?
I
You
do.
remember that?
But that was the thing. But that was the last time before I guess my hiatus because I went off into the real world and did stupid shit. But Metal Gear Solid would have been one of the last ones I think you and I played where we sat there and that was our life
Hmm.
for a week. Because I remember having to
Hmm.
lie to my mom, being like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to catechism on Sunday." Fuck you. I found Jesus in Solid Snake. But it's stuff like that, dude. Like I said, there's something, but the memories that PlayStation creates, I don't think
Hmm.
anybody else. Nintendo, maybe. Like I said,
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega, like, do yourselves a favor, call Sony. And then Spider Man and Sonic could be on PlayStation
Hmm.
because Sonic is
Yeah.
still gaming royalty. I've got streamers that
Hmm.
literally only stream Sonic still, but that's it. but Ken
Hmm.
Kutaragi changed the face of the game. And
He did.
once he,
Yep.
and like I said, if you weren't looking at dollars and cents, the PlayStation 3 could probably be one of the most successful consoles as far as innovation, right? Sales will
Hmm.
always go to two, sales will always go to the Xbox 360, but in the light of who played the console game longer, who won the war, it's going to be PlayStation. Because when Xbox
All day.
moves completely to PC, which is going to happen sooner than
Hmm.
later, I'm sure, because
Hmm.
who's going to drop $8 on an Xbox when I can play everything on, my $1,000 laptop with the same
Yeah.
graphics? It doesn't pay. Sony will always come out with that new card, right? The Cell, although a flop, pivoted and
They
it innovated the future of gaming
Yeah,
because
and they could always go back to it. Like again, like they could go back to it and they could figure out what the problem was, and then they could
the the
release
the,
it
the dev
again.
told you, Joe, it is the ability to work it easily. If you can pull in any dev team, but this is like owning a Volkswagen versus anything else. You can do a fucking oil change on any vehicle, but to do it on a Volkswagen, I need the stupid nut. And that
Yeah,
was
that's
the thing.
true.
And I
That's
think
true. You're right. You're right.
PlayStation, because I'll always go I'm always gonna go for a Beamer or Volkswagen over a Toyota, even though I probably shouldn't. But that's just me. But that's the thing. But it is an immersion, right? When I
Hmm.
drive a Jetta, it's different than when I drive a Ford Escape. Right, when I drive stick, it's
Yep.
but that's the thing with me. Like I've always been more behind the wheel of a car, but that's it. But I think PlayStation, we can put this to bed, regardless if there's ever a PlayStation 6, whether Xbox, Sega comes back, who knows? Um, PlayStation console champion of all time.
100%.
And if you've got a
One
problem with
hundred
that,
percent.
leave comments down below so that I could let him know people hate him. And from there, we will make a next episode, probably with Joe backpedaling like a little bitch. But that being said, I want to thank everybody for your time. Thanks for coming in. Merch is coming out on the store. I've got to revamp my store. I got a bunch of shit to do. We've got 2 episodes coming this week. This will be on Spotify. Both are going to go on YouTube because last week me and Joe just played Sworn, which, if you haven't played, amazing game. But we will put
Fucking go play it.
Xbox Game Pass free. See, that's the thing. Xbox always has the free shit. So I do it.
It does. It
Do you
does.
think anybody would
You
pay?
place it.
Do you think Call of Duty would have the audience that it have if it wasn't a free to play off the hop? If you had to pay
PlayStation.
$90 to do it, I don't think that many people would be playing Call of Duty.
No, no. PlayStation UI, I will admit, sucks, and their store sucks. But they're the champs. They're the fucking champs. Leave a comment below. Also, let us know if there's something you want us to talk about.
Yeah. Like we got
Right?
a
Maybe.
couple episodes done, but we've been having really good feedback. We're gonna keep building on this. There's shit that we are eventually like we are gonna end up probably recycling these episodes at some point. We can break down each console games, stuff like
Hmm.
that. But like I said, I my view through my glasses on gaming is much different than Joe's. He is what I would consider an OG. I am a newbie, but I make him look good on camera, so he puts up with it. Anyways, thank you guys so much. This is episode 5, Short Legs, Big Rage. Links below. Comments of hate to Joe. We'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.